Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way morning briefing live. It's game day, boys. It's match day 2, the Champions League. Shakhtar Donetsk versus Celtic in Warsaw. And I'm joined today, I'm Tony Haggerty, as you know, the Haggerty10 Twitter handle. I'm joined today by Sean Martin, that's Sean Martin TCW, and our man in Warsaw, Graeme McGarry. How you doing, guys?
Not bad, Tony. Yourself?
Good. We'll get to the game in the fullness of time, but first up, we big up our new sponsors, Football Prizes, and for $3.95. The draw's ending tonight, guys. You can earn yourself a Celtic shirt signed by the entire squad. Get yourself into that draw for $3.95, and also get your comments and questions coming in, because we'll pick one out at the end of the programme and we'll enter you into that draw for free. That's a fabulous prize, a signed Celtic shirt by all of the squad. And running along the bottom, as you can see, the ticker tape. You know what I'm going to say. It's £1 for 2 months of full access. Subscribe to the Celtic Way. Hit that subscribe button, guys. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, Champions League, UEFA Association Football. We turn our mind to. Marvellous. Graeme, you're in Warsaw. How's it been? You were at the press conferences yesterday. Is there an air of optimism surrounding Celtic's chances for tonight?
There's definitely an area of optimism surrounding a few of the Irish bars anyway, mate, down the road last night. So the boys looking good for them, the guys that are over here anyway. But in terms of the team, there's a bit of air of confidence about them. We spoke to Ange and Moritz Jens last night up at the presser, and Ange was his usual self, but I think Big Moritz kind of projected a quiet confidence about, Celtic's chances this evening. I think they know they're in for a different challenge than it was last week against Real Madrid. We spoke to the Shakhtar manager as well, and he was kind of the mind that he's going to let Celtic have the ball and try and hit them in the counter. So that's something that Celtic are used to in the domestic front. But obviously with the huge caveat that the quality's stepping up a wee bit here for the usual weekly stuff. So but I think just in the Celtic camp in general, they seem really quite confident about the game tonight.
Sean, Celtic going to have the ball, according to the Shakhtar manager.
Yep.
Good thing, bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. It'll make it more like the way that they always play. When we were doing our video preview special with Andrew Todos, Tony, I asked him that. Remember that domestically Shakhtar tend to have a lot of the ball in the limited time that they've played domestically, obviously, but against Leipzig they essentially gave them the ball. They had about 30% possession, still scored 4 times. So were they quite happy to not have the ball? And he said pretty much that they would probably look, exactly what Graeme said there, that the manager said, look to counter-attack and look to utilise that space. The same as lots of teams do domestically against Celtic. They'll look to use that space in behind the fullbacks when they invert or go forward. That obviously puts the onus on the likes of Moritz Jens at left centre-back, Cameron Carter-Vickers at right centre-back to be on their game. But I suppose the difference is when it's domestically, and I say this all the time, and it's not disrespectful, it's not meant as disrespectful to the Scottish teams, but most of them don't have it in them to punish Celtic at every juncture in that sense. The European arena is a different kettle of fish, so we'll see what it's like. Andrew had obviously told us to watch out for Mudryk, and our scout report, our in-depth scout report from Stuart Ross said the same thing. He singled him out as well. That would, in all likelihood, be in the left channels rather than the right. So you're looking at Carter-Vickers and Juranovic. Stuart specified Juranovic in the ways that he needs to nullify him as well as go forward. So I think having the ball a lot will suit Celtic, but same as always with Celtic in Europe, the back door's the big thing.
Graeme, Shakhtar hitting on the counter, did it superbly well against RB Leipzig. 5 shots at goal, 4 goals.
Don't get more clinical than that, really, Tony, do you? I mean, listen, they've got speed, they've got players that can hurt you. You saw in that first game. I think it was a surprise to everyone. What I would caveat that first game with, though, is that Leipzig were in a kind of funny situation at the time. It was one of those end of days games for their manager, when the players seem to have kind of chucked it a wee bit. So I wouldn't read all that much into that, but what it did show is that they obviously have kind of potent attacking weapons that can catch Celtic out if they do get caught in the counter. But I think it'll be a real kind of marker of what Celtic have learned because everyone talks about Ange's style. He's never going to change it. But there is wee tweaks in there. I can kind of see that they're becoming a wee bit more defensively disciplined, I think. I think they're not throwing the kitchen sink at it every single time they go forward. And it'll be interesting to see how they kind of cope with the way Shakhtar are going to set up. Because as we say, it is a challenge that they come up against regularly every single week, but obviously the step up in class will make it, trickier. And I'm interested to see, Sean touched on there a wee bit, how Carter Vickers and Jens really complement each other. Because that was another thing we spoke to him about last night, was how he thinks that partnerships get real kind of legs and can improve. Obviously with Starfelt being out injured. So it's an intriguing game, and it's one of them I wouldn't be surprised Celtic win 3-0 or they get beat 3-0. It's kind of it could go either way.
You're sitting on the fence here, Graeme, why don't you?
We'll get a prediction out me later.
Now, Sean, yourself and my good self have put our team predictions up on the website. I'm sure you'll send a link to that right now.
I'll also put up a team. Aye.
Yeah, I think we've gone for the same team, haven't we?
We have. I think the only difference is the side that we think that a certain player will play on, I think.
Okay. Is that Jota?
Well, I suppose both, Jota and Maeda, but
yeah.
We're both gone with this, essentially, I think. I usually, as you know, my depth chart and stuff, I put Maeda left wing, Jota right wing, because for the most part, when they started together, that's the wings that they started on, and then they switched mid-game and stuff. But the last couple of times, even when he's come on as a sub, Maeda has went on the right and Jota stayed on the left. So I've gone that way around, you've gone the other way around. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But we've went with the same 11. Graeme, what do you make of that? Do you think it's a good chance that that's a team, or Abada maybe in?
I think that's the team. What I would say from the Real Madrid game was, of all the players that Celtic had out that night, I think Abada was the one that maybe didn't handle the occasion just quite as well as the rest of them. Which is no slight on him, he's a young guy and he's been fantastic for Celtic. But I think away from home in Europe, I think you need that energy from Maeda, helping with the press. And I just really think, in terms of the sides, again, I don't think that matters really where they start, because it's so fluid. They will change throughout the night. But that would certainly be my team.
It's very fluent, that team, isn't it? And I agree totally, Graeme, that Maeda, I've said this to you, Sean, before as well, that I think he's there for his industry and his energy, and the fact that he can do a defensive shift if needed, and if they're going to hit quickly in the counter, I'm sure Maeda, the roadrunner, will be able to catch up with some of the speedy wingers if needed. So I think that's my thinking, that tactically he'll be in for that alone.
Yep, I think I pick Maeda every week in the last couple. He's not been started, but I think this is the one. I think this is him back in the team again. Away from home in Europe, if you're going to have a lot of the ball, ideally, it's hopefully one of those games where Maeda has his shooting boots on as well.
Yes,
he obviously didn't against Real Madrid, but nonetheless, I still expect him to start. There's a couple of comments suggesting, and I don't think it will happen, but I can see the logic in it. Could Haksabanovic get a wee unlikely start? His first start, obviously. I don't think so. Andrew Galea suggesting both Aaron Mooy and Sead Haksabanovic. Any of the two, you think that's likely?
I don't think Haksabanovic will start, but I certainly think he'll have a role to play, because I quite like the look of Haksabanovic and the game time that he's had so far. So again, I can see him getting to a certain minute mark, maybe 55, 60, and unleashing Haksabanovic again. Something like that. Don't know what Graeme thinks, but he has looked the part in the little glimpses that we've viewed from him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. I think it's maybe a bit early for him to come in and start a game. We've seen, as you say, some really promising glimpses from him since he's come into the team, but he's never really had more than kind of 15, 20 minutes, I don't think, so far. So it would be a big shout to then throw him straight into a Champions League away game from the start, I think. I don't expect that. I think the team, for 60 minutes, as we've all said all week, really competed well against Real Madrid. So I don't see them sort of interrupting that. Certainly not the midfield three, and I don't think Haksabanovic will come in from the start either. I think it will be, the only question for me is it Maeda or Abada. I think the rest is pretty much set in stone.
No, Aaron Mooy, Tony, any time for an Aaron Mooy start in midfield? Or?
I don't think you just lodge that midfield right now. Personally, I think that's the triumvirate that he's tried and tested and he likes, and I think that's that's an excellent midfield heading into a game of such magnitude that can. There's potential match winners in all three of them.
I thought maybe, sorry to interrupt, Tony, but I thought maybe, Abildgaard's an interesting one because I think probably we signed with nights like this in mind, maybe. Yep. But we did ask Andrew about him last night, and the vibe from him very much was that he's quite far away in terms of his fitness. He's obviously not ready to go into this game, but it might be interesting going forward to see what he does, because obviously Mooy coming in, as you mentioned, Abildgaard, but that midfield three has performed so well. So do you upset that to try and get a bit more defensive balance into it? I don't know.
But I think you go there and you go and win the game, and then you can bring on Mooy to show things up and just make sure that you consolidate what you've got. And I think that team there, it gives you the best chance of winning the game. And I've already written in a opinion piece, Graeme, that it's a must-win game.
Where do you stand on that, Graeme? Is it a
must-win game?
A must-win or a must-not-lose?
Big Moritz last night, Tony said you're talking nonsense. So I read your piece and I put it to him. He said, no, every game's a must win. You obviously get that line from anyone when you ask that question. But when we dug into it a wee bit more, I said, well, it's maybe not a must win, but maybe a must not lose. And he said, no, like at the end of the day, I think this is a wonderful chance to kind of get an away win for Celtic, because...
Must win, he said, Graeme. Yeah, he said
He said must win, basically. He agrees with you, Tony.
He must be a subscriber, Tony.
Big Moritz knows the score. He knows the score.
No, he was saying as well that, you look at Celtic's record over the years.
Yeah.
Champions League away, I think they've played 30 away games and lost 25 of them, So I think that this represents a real good chance for Celtic tonight, and I think the players will be thinking along those lines as well.
Tony, so Andrew Gallier's doubling down here. No way Abildgaard would start ahead of Mooy. I think Aaron Mooy has been, in my own opinion, Aaron Mooy's been okay since he came in. I think there's been criticism over the top. I think there's been praise over the top. I think he's just been okay when he's come on, mostly due to the circumstances in which he does come on. They're usually ahead. He's usually keeping it simple. Kind of playing within himself, because he's got a better passing range than he's shown so far. Against Real Madrid, he came on, and if I'm right, because I looked it up at the time, I think it was like 23 of 25 passes were successful, but the two that weren't were his 2 attempts at forward passes, which suggests still not quite getting what you're wanting from him. Then again, it was Real Madrid that he was playing. There was and this isn't meant as a criticism per se, but one of those forward passes, it was just a wrong decision. It was a clipped aerial ball into Kyogo on his own in the box with just 6'7" Thibaut Courtois to deal with. So it was just kind of, I don't know, there's still more to come from Aaron Mooy, but he's, for me, nowhere near starting in a game of this magnitude yet.
I'm doubling down on Frank Brennan here. I'm not going to say I told you so. Frank, you said it's a must win. I don't know what
Tony's taking this personally.
David Bradley, a win could set us up. Well, a must win. There we go. So no such thing as a mustn't lose. It's a must win.
I think the rest of the team, I mean, obviously McGregor's going to start. Is there any case for Turnbull to come in for Hatate, or definitely Hatate after his Real Madrid exploits?
It's Hatate for me all day long, and you'll not see a bigger David Turnbull fan than myself. But I think Hatate. There was one or two wee question marks, fun enough, like towards the end of last season when you knew he was kind of running on empty a wee bit, and he wasn't quite having the impact in games that he was when he first arrived. But you can see him this season, right for the get-go in pre-season, you just thought, oh, hold on a minute here. He just looks to have moved up a level again. And his performance against Real Madrid was sensational. And we all know about that pass for the Juranovic throw over Jota. And I just think he's shown a level of technical ability that maybe I didn't think he had.
I think I was going to say that. You study him closely. What a technical footballer he is. You really study him closely. And I think that, and I bang on about it all the time, I think in terms of technique and technical ability in the midfield, we've got two of the best technicians in Scotland, arguably in British football. And Hatate and O'Reilly, I think
the two of them are you can see their understanding grown. You can see they're grown. But what I like about the two of them is actually all three of them, as I said in pre-season, Tony, they're the first choice midfield three for me, and somebody's going to need to do a lot to dislodge it. But despite the fact that primarily they're all technical players, I do see a lot of bite to all three of them. And O'Reilly's, in particular, O'Reilly's pressing stats are always up there.
Mm-hmm.
He does put in that shift off the ball. I think they all do, but particularly O'Reilly, sometimes maybe the eye test wouldn't tell you that he's doing that, but he is doing it. But Hatate and O'Reilly in particular, the two of them, they're willing to play a risky pass. They're willing to play that pass that will break the lines, which you need, especially domestically, but obviously in the Champions League as well. But domestically, when people are sitting in a low block, you need people that are going to be able to not only play it, but actually take the risk to play it as well. And the two of them do it, so you've got two of them in a team.
I think that comes from the manager, though, that it doesn't dissuade you if it doesn't come off.
Well, I think it comes from the two of them being willing to do it, because last season, I don't think they had enough of that. Sometimes if Tom Rogic wasn't playing.
Yeah, but I mean...
And that includes Hatate himself, because obviously in the last season he was running on empty.
I don't think the manager would dissuade them from keep trying it.
Well, no, obviously, no.
So I genuinely do think that these two guys are ballers. And as Graeme said there, he is a big Turnbull fan, and I like Turnbull as well. But I just think at this moment, when those three guys are fit, you're not dislodging them from starting. You maybe come on at certain junctures, but you can't. I don't think you can dislodge those three.
One thing, I think Sean touched on it there, just about the kind of bite that O'Reilly's got, which maybe, you look at him and he's a big easy-going laddie, and you just don't think he's got that in him. But it was quite telling. I think it was one of the pre-season games. I think it might have been Blackburn. It was Blackburn when they were putting the boot in quite a bit for a friendly, especially. It was a really physical game. And then after the game, he said he loved it. Do you know what I mean? He was like, there was a few naughty challenges getting in, and that was brilliant, and I could show that I've got that side of my game. So I think it's maybe underestimated just, how strong defensively O'Reilly is as well. And he likes to mix it in there. Because a lot of people do say that's something that's missing for the Celtic midfield. But for me, that's a wee bit lazy. I don't think that is missing. I think
I agree with you. I think O'Reilly, for the Glasgow Derby detailed ratings, I kind of pointed out, because it was frustrating the life out of the Rangers midfield in general, right? But John Lundstrom in particular seemed to be quite baffled as to how this guy was doing this way, a football kind of thing. And he was kind of resorting to kicks and wee pulls and different things like that. But the biggest compliment for O'Reilly was that he actually seemed to enjoy that. He liked it. He took it as a compliment. And it's one of those things that almost you've blinked first. I know I'm getting to you, so it's just going to give me more confidence, that kind of thing. So he's that type of player, and he's shown it on a couple of occasions. But I think off the ball, it's kind of underrated what he puts in on a week-to-week basis.
I also think as well that because people accept that he's a gifted and talented footballer with great technical ability, it goes under the radar, the fact that he can mix it. So he's not seen as a guy that will put the boot in, if you get what I mean, on the eye test. Yeah. So he might that flies under the radar a bit. So people aren't looking for O'Reilly to club people, let's put it that way, in the way that a John Lundstrom would, if you get what I mean. Yeah. He gets certain kind of stereotypes of players. So O'Reilly is a footballer, you would say, and therefore you're looking for all the kind of skills and ability that he brings, rather than somebody who, as you say, Sean, will chase and harry and press and put the boot in if needed.
I think, Tony, see, when he first came up, I think opposition teams have looked at him and thought, here's a guy we can kick out the game.
Yeah.
He's technically brilliant. He's but he's not going to fancy it up here. And he's shown that you can't do that. If you try and use those tactics against him, he's more than willing to mix it. If you let him play, he'll kill you. So I mean, I just, what a steal he's been.
Many times do you see him fending off an opponent with the ball at his feet, and as Sean pointed out, Lundstrom was wondering, what's he doing? What is this sorcery? Close control, and he can fend off an opponent, and he can play a killer pass as well, and and seeing the game in pictures and seeing it in movement and vision, having that, I mean, it's a wonderful skill. I mean, his pass for Jota's goal in the derby was exquisite in between two people, but at speed, because Callum's hit that free kick, took it very quickly, and you've only got a split second. Obviously, Jota's run makes it, but you've still got to find them.
I was surprised he wasn't in the Denmark squad this week, I've got to say. I mean,
I
was going to say they must have a good midfield. They do have a good midfield, right? But I just think, he played well against Real Madrid. You're not going to get a bigger test than that. And he's, as you say, in the derby, he was fantastic as well. and it's not been a flash in the pan. He's consistently been really good. So I'm a wee bit surprised at that, but I think his time will come if he keeps playing like he is.
He's still got plenty of time to book his seat on that plane.
I was just about to say the World Cup, I don't know if it might come too soon for him just because he wasn't in this squad, but I'm hoping for his sake that he makes it, and I think he deserves it.
If he keeps it up, what he's been doing, then even if he hasn't, which he's not in this squad, plays well for under-21s and keeps doing this for Celtic, he might sneak in, I think.
Yeah. I think he'll be happy.
I say sneak, obviously, without meaning it as a dig out or anything. I think he would deserve it. But as you say, Real Madrid and then domestically Rangers. So what more do you want from him?
Yeah.
But,
indeed.
Right, last one before I put this graphic down. And we've not really spoke about it yet, but the assumption is, well, he definitely is fit because Ange Postecoglou was asked yesterday, Graeme, who wasn't, and he didn't mention this man. So we all agreed it's Kyogo up front over Giakoumakis in this occasion.
I agree, yeah. We asked him about it outside and he said Kyogo's fully fit. And he said if there was a game at the weekend, he would have played that.
Right,
so,
okay.
So I don't have any concerns over his shoulder or anything. I think he's at 100%. It's a bit rough on Giakoumakis maybe because I think he played really well against Real Madrid.
He did.
But for me, I think it's a different challenge tonight, and I think Kyogo's movement is going to be so key in terms of kind of pulling those defenders about a wee bit and creating space for the midfield. And I would 100% go with Kyogo tonight. I just think his movement's world class to me. And I think that might be the key when you're coming up against a defence like this, but it's going to try and stay organised and in their roles. I think he's going to be key to try and drag them out of that. I
agree with that. Totally, yeah.
You go, Jason Lee, did you guys catch the Kyogo interview? His English is pretty good. Did you see it?
Yes.
That's what aye.
I'm done well, didn't he?
I'm worried for wee Aki, the translator. I might be out of a job, you know. But it was good. It was good to hear him speaking English. I think it's just a sign of how comfortable he's getting here now as well, you know.
Some would suggest he speaks better English than me, but
and my good self, Sean. Yes, indeed. Yeah, but hey,
I think that's 3.
No, but I guess as you say, it's another sign of harmony, isn't there, and camaraderie and team spirit that he's confident enough to conduct an interview in English, and he wants to do that. So I like that. I like that kind of buy-in from players, because it's very difficult when it's not your first language to actually sit there and answer questions. And I was delighted to see that. And he just looks so happy, doesn't he? Yeah, his smile and his just general enthusiasm it's very infectious. You cannot watch that interview and not smile and wish him well and think, yep, you're on the right page here. And I'm glad he's fit. I wouldn't have risked him if he wasn't fit, and I didn't risk him against Real Madrid when we picked our team, Sean, because I just thought he wouldn't be 100% fit, but he's 100% fit for tonight, and I think as Graeme said there, his movement is world class. Just finding him now, isn't it? But you feel confident in his ability to score whenever he takes the field, and you feel confident in Celtic's ability to create chances for him to score.
Yep.
So
I actually think Kyogo playing has strengthened Maeda's case to start as well, because in the early part of the season, the two of them were linking up really well, and Maeda set up a couple of goals for Kyogo.
The same type of goal.
Same type of goal. So I think with Kyogo being in there, I think that makes it more likely in my book that Maeda starts.
Jason Mudgard saying that was definitely the best starting team. Bring on Mooy and Abada, etc. Once Celtic are ahead. Kookaburra just pointing out that midfield 3 didn't look out of place against Real Madrid. Agree with that.
For just short of an hour.
Still a good amount of people saying they want Haksabanovic to start. Don't get me wrong, I'm very intrigued to see what he's like from the start, and especially against teams that might cede Celtic the ball. His kind of creativity might be crucial, but I do think it's too soon tonight. Same with Abelgard, he's basically said that won't happen. But there was another one I was going to put up, but I can't find it now. So no, can't find it. Let's move on.
Okay, we'll get to that tricky bit then.
All right, okay.
Score prediction, guys. Who's going first? Who's going to put their...
Graham's a guest, so we'll throw it
all right, okay.
Thanks, lads.
Well, Graeme has said 3-0 either way, so it's...
I'm going to err on the side of being optimistic, and I'm going to say 3-0 Celtic.
Right, okay. Tony, you want to go next? Or?
I'll say 3-1 Celtic.
Yeah, I'll go down the middle, 2-1 Celtic.
Fair enough.
That's all right, Celtic are winning there, isn't it? So.
Yeah, all predicting a Celtic win, indeed. Well, I mean, I think that Celtic travelled there with real optimism in the way they played. I know they went toe-to-toe for 55 minutes against Real Madrid and then were undone, but yeah, there was enough. There was a green shoots there, wasn't there? Of a kind of, a performance which, if you can marry in the whole 90 minutes, 2-1 the hoops, Haksabanovic like winner, 4-0 Celtic. There's ever the optimist Simon Thomas, 4-0 Andrew Gilly as well. So I think that you looked at that and you felt confident, regardless of the Shakhtar results. When you broke that down into its component parts, you were like, wow, 5 shots at goal, 4 goals. Yep, lesson in being clinical. But as Graeme pointed out, RB Leipzig were at the kind of end of a cycle of the manager. Tedesco gets binned. I never really understand this phrase, lost the dressing room, but I guess if there was a game where they might have lost the dressing room, it could be that game. So there's all sorts of extenuating circumstances for that. Now, I agree with the Retro Celtic, and the manager said it as well, and the manager has said it even domestically. It's simple tonight. You've got to take your chances when they come along.
Or as Bees put it, and I think, unless you've got a better one, I might pick this as a comment of the day. Don't let the ball pass Joe Hart's goal line, and make sure Celtic put the ball past their keeper's goal line, and that's it.
That's up there with. I think that's the kind of newest form of the team that scores the most goals will win. Is that kind of?
Although Johan Cruyff, as long as you score one more than your opponent.
Yes, indeed. And I think Celtic can score one more, possibly 2 more than their opponents tonight. I just feel they're in a comfortable place. Yet the Real Madrid game and result was a jolt to the senses at the end up. But for a while they competed and they get a good vibe from that, and I think the crowd get a good vibe from it too. They saw that they had a game plan, just fell short. The manager wasn't for having pats on the back, made them even more determined, and I think it will make the players even more determined to go out and get a result tonight. And I think they're certainly capable.
Beach Boy saying, I'm going 1-1. This team are no mugs. And then Gary McDowell, aka Kevin Keegan, I would love it if we beat them.
So lots of people going for a high scoring draw as well. Yep. As Graeme alluded to earlier, it could go either way, couldn't it? But I think you err on the side of caution. But you trust the Celtic team to perform. I know I do. I think the manager does.
I think when you look at the Europa League group games last year, I think that's probably a kind of good measure of what this game might be like. Because I don't think Shakhtar are a million miles away from the likes here, Betis or Leverkusen and these types of teams. And all of those games were high scoring. Ferencvaros as well, obviously. I think was it 3-2, 3-2, 4-3 those games.
Yeah, I made the point. Yeah, they scored 8 on their travels away from home. France and Spain.
It's just about
and still only took 3 points. That was the downside to it because they conceded so many. But I think, and in one of the goals I've always spoke about it, the Betis goal, wasn't it? Jota's goal, and Betis with a quick counter-attacking football. That kind of showed you the way Celtic can play when it's done at speed and it comes off. So
the Leverkusen goal, the Betis game, it was so early and there was still so much tinkering left to be done, so much still to implement, that it was almost no surprise that conceding after going ahead and stuff kind of prompted a bit of a collapse. I think now, I know they conceded 3 against Real Madrid there, and that was disappointing from Ange Postecoglou's point of view, that after they conceded, they did kind of let it maybe slide a wee bit and never just get back to playing the way they were playing. But generally, I do think they've got that kind of resilience about them now, where if they were to concede, they will still play that game. I suppose we'll see at the Champions League level at some point it will be tested again, but I think you do trust them.
I think tonight will be different. I think if Celtic win tonight, they can go on a winning run away from home in Europe. As Graeme pointed out, they've played 30 and lost about 25, something like that earlier on in the pod. But I think tonight will feel different. I think if they win tonight, that will give them the confidence to go on and believe that they can compete home and away against anybody. in the Champions League, and the more they do it, the more they'll grow into the competition. And that's what Ange said. He wants to be serial competitors in this competition. And I said it in that must-win piece. And there's glory, there's honour, there's prestige, but above all, there's respect when you go to places, especially away from home, and you win. And I think that's what Ange wants for the team, for this Celtic team that he's building.
Just a wee point I want to make as well is that a lot of talk about maybe Celtic have an advantage because it's a neutral venue, but just to give the guys a wee flavour of it though, the Shakhtar manager said last night they're expecting a full house. There's a lot of displaced Ukrainians living around Warsaw, so it'll be a kind of hostile atmosphere that they're coming into. You know, it will be a real test for them, and I think that'll be a real good marker of what they did take from those experiences last year, and how much further down the line they are in terms of believing in what Ange is trying to do. If they do stick to it, as Sean says. So I look forward to this. I think it's going to be a real good test.
That's what you want, Sean, isn't it? You want to go into these hostile environments and play your brand of football and win.
Yep, that's exactly it. I mean,
it's a gauge and a measure, isn't it?
He referenced it a few times last year, and I know I've went on about it a few times, but the Bayer Leverkusen one sticks in my mind before that game, having obviously lost 4-0 in the other game against them. He just kind of said about resilience, and again, at the time, it was kind of taking that resilience might mean defensively and stuff. I didn't ever think that's what he meant. I think he meant in terms of playing that football, even if you've made a mistake, still playing the pass that you would have played, even if the time that you tried it before it didn't come off, that kind of thing. So resilience of character rather than necessarily resilience in defensively. And as I say, I think the progress they've made means that you do trust them to do that, even in a hostile environment, even in a game where they might concede a goal, might make a mistake. I do feel that you trust them to continue playing that way.
Well, it'll all come out in the wash. 5:45 tonight. Graeme, you'll be there. Hope you enjoy it. A Celtic win blows the race for second spot in the group wide open. I'm quite confident that Celtic can win in Warsaw. Sean?
Yep.
You're confident. Graeme's confident. We've all predicted a Celtic win. We'll reconvene tomorrow and we'll share our thoughts on what happens, what unfolds. But just before we go, again, a reminder, the draw ends tonight. £3.95. Enter yourself into the draw. You can win a Celtic signed shirt by the full squad, courtesy of our new sponsor, Football Prizes, and we thank them for that. Wonderful gift to get if you win that. And also, we will pick out a comment at the end of the programme, but running along the strap at the bottom, you know what I'm going to say. It's £1 for 2 months of full access. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, guys, and join us. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, Sean, did you have a comment of the day?
Well, that one from B I quite liked, but if you've got another one, that's fine.
No, I quite like that. B, that different take on the team that scores the most goals will win. That's I quite like that. Yeah, don't let the ball pass Hearts goal line, and make sure we put the ball past their keeper's goal line, and that's it. It's all very simple, isn't it?
Well, be a wee DM on Twitter or a direct message on the Facebook account or an email to myself or Tony, and that will get you your free entry. But you need to be quick because it ends tonight.
Excellent. Now, we thank you guys for the comments in the comment section today. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the game. Above all else, we thank Graeme McGarry for joining us live from Warsaw.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Are you back on tomorrow, Graeme, to discuss it, are you? Are you?
No, it's
travelling.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, safe travels.
Young Aidan on with us tomorrow, Tony.
Young Aidan's on tomorrow.
Make his grand return to the podcast.
Excellent. Okie dokie. Well, safe travels, Graeme. Enjoy tonight. I'm sure you will. Sean, thanks for your contribution. First class.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. It's match day 2 of the Champions League. Get excited.